My 27 mom, 53, has had a really hard life. At age 8 she was adopted into a loving, wealthy family of 2 college professors, along with an adopted brother. She had a hard time adjusting, made a lot of bad decisions, and basically ran away in her late teens. In total, she has 5 children, 4 boys with me, the middle girl. We grow up very poor, with our mother always gone or bringing back strangers to party, leaving me to raise the youngest 2. That being said, I loved my grandparents dearly and they loved us kids back, and, as much as they struggled with my mom, they were nothing but loving towards her from what I understand. My grandparents died when I'm in 5th and 7th grade and this crushed me. I wasn't able to articulate any of it at the time, but that's when severe depression rolled in. From there on, school was very difficult for me, as well as my home life. I ended up falling pretty deep into my sorrow and stopped going to school around my junior year of high school. After a breakthrough, I decided that I had to get the hell away from that house and ultimately moved out at age 17 to a bigger city about 45 minutes away. I barely finished high school with a 1.75 grade point average and somehow, 2 teachers from the new school convinced me to sign up for the community college. They helped me fill out my free application for federal student aid and everything. I worked full-time, really hard, and after 4 years I finally achieved an AS. I was able to transfer over to a university that I would have never been able to attend right out of high school due to grades and whatnot, and finish my BS in my favorite field of science. In total, it took me 6 years to get my BS degree, but I worked so freaking hard and I was so proud of what I was able to accomplish. Anyway, I graduated college with $40,000 college debt. Not so bad compared to most I always thought. I knew that I would have to work hard and accrue debt to get where I wanted in life, so this was a necessary burden, and I've accepted that. However, things have turned in recent events when I reached out to my grandparents' close personal friends, let's call them the Johnsons, to get a better idea of what my parents were like. In conversation, it came out that Grandpa left a $150,000 inheritance for the grandchildren's education. However, 3 years later, around 2010, my mother came to the Johnsons and confessed to them that she blew all the education money. My relationship with her was already strained, but this really crossed a line for me. I emailed her telling her I knew what she did and told her not to contact me again. The Johnsons quickly got in contact with me telling me it was a long time ago and she's improved a lot since then and that I shouldn't have told her they told me. I think I have the right to confront her, but they say I violated their trust. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This sounds odd to me. An executor of a will can only distribute money in accordance with a will. How were the Johnsons able to give your mom access if the money was solely for your education? That would be violation of fiduciary duty because executors have to go through court approval to do what you said in this post. I would get a third-party lawyer to look into how this occurred, that your mom gained access to the funds, and how she was able to take money from it when it was earmarked for your education. You really need to contact an attorney. The Johnsons are clearly involved. If it were really in the past, why bring it up at all? Because even though your mom took some, the Johnsons took some for themselves and are using your mom to cover their tracks. Furthermore, if you and your siblings were supposed to get that money, why did they give it to her at all? This smells fishy from all angles except yours. Your mother's personal improvement should have included being honest about her theft and a sincere apology. Since she and the Johnsons have hidden this from you and your brothers for a significant amount of time, they are all idiots, and the Johnsons are not a very good judge of personal growth if they think this is worth rug sweeping. Instead, it is worth consulting with an estate lawyer to see what can be done to recover some of the money. This money was for education for the 5 of you, not just yourself. Your brothers need to know that they've been robbed as well. Hey, so I'm 26 and my sister is 19. She's very autistic, like hand flaps, drooling, only talks about baby things like princesses, etc. Truth be told, I don't enjoy being around her. Sometimes my parents ask me to watch her, but I'll say no because of this, though I tell my parents it's because of work, because I don't want to come off as bad guy. I knew that I was having today as an off day, so I couldn't wait to stay at home and just let loose, watch movies, maybe smoke. Earlier in the week my mom called and asked me if I could watch my sister today. I said no. Yesterday they called again, to which I said no again, because I want to relax on my day off like any guy. I don't think it's bad to not want to have something to do. This morning I got a text from mom saying she'd be back about 4:30. I thought it was for my dad or something since she hadn't been to my house in the first place to come back to. I called dad and he said he was at work, so that confused me. I looked out the window for mom's car or something, and it turns out she left my sister on the porch. I called mom and pointed this out to her. She said, "Oh yeah, it won't be for long." It was about 11, so 4:30 was easily 5 hours. I said I wasn't looking after her, so someone better come get her. I kept my word and didn't have her in my house at all. Well, eventually my mom showed up at my house and banged on the door, chewed me out with some "how could you" speech about not looking after the sister. I said I wasn't watching. I got another earful when they went home because I guess sister defecated in her pants during the time she was on my porch, which is bad, but I didn't cause this. I've never seen mom that upset, and it has me wondering if I was the idiot for not watching my sister when my mom presented me with her. I just wanted to enjoy my time, but I wonder if I did wrong. Everyone's the idiot here. Can I ask why you hate your sister? The way you talk about her here is atrocious, not to mention you left her outside on your porch until your mother eventually showed up. Do you have any idea how dangerous that could have been? Your mother shouldn't have dropped her off there after you said you wouldn't watch her, but you left your vulnerable little sister outside. I cannot imagine having this much contempt for a little sibling. It's not your job to take care of and watch over her, but the fact you didn't even let her in your house once she was there is disgusting. Your mom is the idiot because she just dropped off your sister after you said you were not going to watch her twice, thus disrespecting your wishes. You are the idiot because you left your sister out on the porch for a long amount of time where anything could have happened to her. I understand you didn't want to watch your sister because it was your day off, but to leave her outside like that is cold-blooded. You all need to have a discussion as a family because your sister doesn't deserve this. Your mom shouldn't have dumped your sister on you, but leaving her outside for several hours was a really crappy thing to do. It's okay not to want to take care of her, it's okay to be mad at your mother, but it isn't okay to punish your sister for what your mother did. She doesn't understand, and you left a child, 19 or not, she is mentally a child, alone and unsupervised just to make a statement. Your poor sister, I hope you get your wish and never have to watch her again, because that was unbelievably awful of you and your mother. I, 30, wanted to buy my first car ever after spending years on public transportation. Due to health problems and lack of money I wasn't able to drive, but then I got lucky with money and my health improved and thought I could start driving myself whenever I want, wherever I want. I took my boyfriend of 4 years with me and visited several car dealerships to look at a number of cars within budget. One thing I noticed was that whenever the car salesman tried to speak to me about the specific car I wanted, my boyfriend would get involved and talk about another brand entirely. He'd constantly interrupt, suggest other brands, ask irrelevant questions, wasting both our times. He has done this every time. I talked to him about wanting freedom to be able to choose a car I want, but he'd throw his hands up saying he was just trying to help. During our last visit to the car dealership he did it again and almost pressured me to buy a car that he liked, which was way out of my budget and not my style. Last week I decided to go visit another car dealership by myself and got lucky by finding a nice car that fit my requirements. I purchased it and brought it home with my friend. My boyfriend saw it and was shocked, but then got upset. He didn't even say congrats or gave his opinion about it. He asked why I went and bought a car behind his back. I explained why, and he said he wanted to help me pick a car when I made it obvious I want a certain brand and said that this was something we should have done as a couple. He claimed this was disrespectful and inconsiderate of me and that I excluded him from a huge event, which was buying my first car together. I asked him honestly if he really wanted me to buy a car that he wanted, and he said nothing. The argument went nowhere with him saying I shouldn't have gone behind his back like this, and he's been quiet ever since. He doesn't even want to look at it or hear anything about it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Just trying to help you buy the car he wants, not the car you want. Sorry, but your boyfriend is being a blowhard. You didn't buy a car behind his back. He doesn't seem to get that the decision was never his to make. He was trying to control the entire situation. Red flag. His petulant childish reaction to you being an adult and making your own choice, another red flag, him ignoring you and making you feel horrible and guilty about your first car, congrats by the way, yet another red flag. He is being passive-aggressive and extremely immature about this, and it's a mean-spirited thing for him to behave this way about your first car purchase. He has a lot of growing up to do. Your money, your choice, you get to buy the car you want. He is a boyfriend, not a husband. He's just salty that he didn't get the car he wanted. But it is better this way, now you don't have to worry about him taking your car for a spin or saying he'll just take it for this or for that, while you meanwhile are forced to seat home because he took your wheels and he doesn't like when you use his car. Pay close attention to him. Maybe he is genuinely sad he didn't better understand how to help you, or maybe he is just throwing a tantrum because you didn't buy the treat he wanted. Only time will tell, and you know him better. It wasn't even technically behind his back. He knew you were in the market for a new car, you just happened to get it on a day he wasn't with you, honestly, good for you. He sounds like a piece of work. Your money, your car, your choice. It's a courtesy when you are dating with separate finances to tell the other about a big purchase, but at the end of the day, not their choice. My 30 girlfriend, 25, lost her job recently and she's been going out drinking a lot because of it. She'd get heavily drunk and would need me to come pick her up at odd hours when I'm working or sleeping. By the way, I hate going to bars and one of the reasons is that I'm a recovering alcoholic, no shame in saying it, I'm proud to say that I've been sober for 16 months. Not easy but was able to achieve this goal. It's still hard being exposed to alcohol, but I do my best to deal with it and be there for my girlfriend to take her home safe. Last night she called me at 1 a.m. telling me she drank too much and wanted me to come pick her up and take her home. I drove to the bar she was at and saw her sitting at the counter. I told her it was time to go, but she suddenly started acting weird, yelling, telling me to get away from her and that she didn't know who I was. I told her to stop it, but she kept insisting I wasn't her real boyfriend she was waiting for and I needed to step away. The bartender noticed and asked if there was a problem. My girlfriend told him to kick me out, but I explained I was her boyfriend and she just kept denying and then laughing. The bartender didn't believe me and told me to leave. Things got heated. I walked out for a few minutes then back inside to tell her we needed to go. She started laughing, then got a guy who looked like a bouncer involved telling him I was bothering her and she didn't know who I was. The guy sternly said, "Hey man, you need to leave or I'll call the cops," after I gave my ID and identification that belonged to me and my girlfriend. He got loud and insisted. I threw my hands in the air and said, "Okay, fine, I'm leaving, I'm going home without you, Katie." She kept laughing and I got into my car and left feeling pissed as hell. An hour later one of her friends got her home and she didn't even seem that drunk. She was mad, asking why I left her at the bar. I was puzzled. I reminded her of what happened, but she stopped me, saying she knew and was aware, but pulled this as a prank to get a reaction out of me. I was dumbfounded. She said she was joking and didn't expect I'd actually leave and thought I was waiting for her outside in my car. She even said she couldn't believe I left her there with no way home. I argued this was her fault for how she behaved and she kept saying it was a prank and I shouldn't have taken it seriously. She ranted about how unreliable I was and how poorly I reacted to a joke. She's still arguing about it, blaming me for leaving. I get she's going through hard times and wants to chill a little, but I thought her behavior was not okay. We've been together for 5 years. This is the first time she does something like this, and I thought that she may not be thinking rationally due to her struggle with losing her job. By the way, she's not a heavy drinker, but after losing her job she started drinking often. Though she never brings any alcohol home, I still have to deal with the smell and such. Not the idiot. She could have gotten you into a situation with cops being called, especially with the state of the world right now. She literally got the bouncer involved, which 100% put you in danger and painted a very bad picture of you. I'm petty, so I'd take her on date to this same bar without telling her until we're there and embarrass her into letting them know she was a liar and I am in fact her partner, but like I said, I'm petty. You could have been tackled by the bouncer and forcibly ejected or reported to the police, etc. Not a joke. Not funny. And not what you do to someone who has come out at your request to pick you up. This isn't just a bit of a blip, she sounds on a real path of self-destruction at the moment, and whilst I know you want to help her, it's also important you don't let it crash and burn through your life and your sobriety too. I think she needs to shape up or ship out. You don't need this nonsense in your life. Personally, I would cut and run. She's too much drama, too much self-medicating, too much bad decisions, just too much. You need to tell her to set up an Uber account, or someone in her group needs to be the designated driver, because you can't be waking up in the middle of the night to pick her up. You need to focus on your well-being. I, 36, have been running a small daycare center in the city I live in with big demands for childcare. My brother lives in the same city and was complaining about my niece, 20, not finding a job to afford rent. He asked if she could come work at my daycare since she has experience with kids. I agreed to give and receive help since I needed to hire an additional employee. The first couple of weeks were fine. But days later she came to me asking for money to buy something that wasn't urgent, but I told her that just like any other employee, she needed to wait till she receives her salary since it wasn't urgent. She tried to convince me to give her money, but I let her know that work is work and she's not my niece while working, so she had to wait. Days ago something strange happened. We have a kid, 6 years old, who has an iPad that he brings with him every time. When the dad, my client, came to pick his son up, he noticed the iPad was gone. We looked for it everywhere. I asked my employees and no one saw it. I found out my niece was responsible for the kid's care that day, and after I asked her, she said she left it charging, then saw one of my employees take it. My employee swore she didn't touch it and said she saw my niece take it off the charger. The whole argument was she said versus she said. I checked the cameras and saw my niece hide the iPad behind the dumpster near the door. That was it for me. I lashed out at her and said she's not working for me anymore. She cried and begged for me to give her a chance since she had no choice and did this to get the money she needed for rent. I refused to argue with her. You can only imagine how small I felt when giving the dad the iPad back. It's a shame because my client is a good man and we both had conversations and meetings outside work. My brother came to talk and said me kicking my niece out over some client was a huge overreaction on my part and that everyone deserves a second chance since my niece has shown how committed she is in other areas at the daycare. I argued that my reputation is all that matters and if anyone knew about this, I'm screwed. I honestly can't take this risk and rehire her. Besides the fact she falsely accused one of my employees of stealing the iPad when it was her who hid it. Then I explained how this made my client feel, which is awful. My brother called me unbelievable for choosing a client's feelings over my relationship with niece and said I overreacted since my niece apologized and the iPad was returned. He got other family members involved saying, well, my niece made a mistake, she is worthy of a second chance. Not the idiot. She doesn't deserve a second chance at all. She stole a child's iPad, that's so beyond scummy. She is lucky the dad didn't involve the police. You have her stealing on video. This is your livelihood, your reputation, your everything. It's baffling to me that your family would stick up for her in any way at all, but it's even worse they think she should still work there. Why would she even want to work there still? Isn't she embarrassed by her actions? Side note, it might be a good idea to reconsider your policy on kids bringing electronics to your daycare now that you have had a case of theft. That is a big liability for you. It's not just theft, they can get broken. Your niece not only chose to steal from a 6-year-old, but also tried to blame it on another employee when caught. If your brother and the rest of your family want to enable her, that's on them, but you need to prioritize your own livelihood. If you rehired her, you would lose the trust of your clients, and no one is going to send their child to a provider they cannot trust. Your niece didn't make a mistake. She made a choice to steal from a child, lie about stealing, and falsely accuse another employee. She's 20 years old, not 8. When she initially asked for the money, you said that what she needed was not urgent. Then after stealing, lying, and falsely accusing another employee, she says that she stole the iPad for rent money. She can get her second chance at another job.